Hey, let's do a quick one in between because we said we would. This is a story from last night, actually, and there's a little bit of a fight going on in the right to moment as to who is the best friend to farmers. An MP from ACT goes pretty hardcore against National, and David Seymour, of all people, backs National.
This ACT MP once described people who believe the planet is warming as nut jobs. He still has his doubts about climate change.
What I call is a healthy degree of scepticism.
In an interview with alternative media outlet Reality Check Radio, Mark Cameron said farmers believe National.
It's a friendly way of referring to them. Alternative media, maybe. Conspiracy theorists, tinfoil hat wearers. It could be another way.
It's done them dirty.
Simon Watts and his crew have signed us up to 51% reduction by 2035. Well, that's worse than James Shaw has been the tonality that is offered to me. And farmers are lamenting that National is out of touch.
Not just lamenting, he says they're furious.
They're genuinely irate.
While Mark Cameron wouldn't be interviewed by One News today, ACT says his comments come after he met many farmers at rural field days. In a statement a short time ago, the Climate Change Minister Simon Watts expressed National support for rural communities. He says part of that is participating in international agreements which are key to some of our free trade deals, pointing out that without those, farmers risk losing access to valuable export markets. ACT's leader came to the Climate Change Minister's defence.
What would you say to people who think that this government and Simon Watts are more of a threat to farming than James Shaw was when he was Climate Minister?
Well, Simon Watts has inherited a circumstance where he can't actually go backwards. He can only go forwards, and what he's chosen to do is the minimum viable option within the agreement that James Shaw signed us up to. You know, if you want to criticise Simon Watts, just remember James Shaw had to crawl so Simon could run.
So that's from yesterday's news, and the reason we were looking at this today, Chewie, is because Mr. Luxon actually got cornered in India and asked about this, about them not being friends to farmers, and this is what he said.
Mark Cameron is saying that farmers are irate with National and feel betrayed by your climate commitments. What do you make of that?
Oh, that's rubbish. Farmers tell me that they do not want multinational companies and countries that compete with New Zealand on dairy kicking our products off the shelf. And I tell you, I act brutally in New Zealand's national interests. And as a result, it's entirely appropriate that we are part of the Paris Agreement. But we will act always in New Zealand's interests, and we'll make decisions that are actually in Kiwis' interests. And I'm telling you, it is in our national interest to be part of that agreement. What has been signed up for.
This is still in India, I think. He's still in India in this. Yeah. Why is Mark?
I was just thinking that. I was just thinking, why is Mark Mitchell there? He's got nothing to do with trade.
There? Yeah. Is he just a junket? Is this a junket for Mark Mitchell? I just don't know why he's there. Anyway.
For 2035 now brings back the global commitment into alignment with our domestic commitment, which is net zero 2050. But, I just say go out and talk to some farmers. And as I do regularly, I was in Wanaka at the AMP show, a week of...
Did you get some Maccas or a McDonald there, Mr. Luxon? Did you enjoy a fillet of fish?
In a bit ago, and they tell me they do not want New Zealand products kicked off shelves by multinational companies and competing countries that would love us to withdraw so that they could do exactly that.
Last couple, guys.
Well, I just say to you, go look at farmer confidence, which has come up to a 10-year high. Go look at the outlook for milk and dairy prices in New Zealand. You would have seen 2 weeks ago the red meat sector say there's another $1.2 billion coming into the red meat sector in the coming year. And even the wool farmers are actually saying they're getting good prices as well. So, agriculture is on fire. It's starting to come on fire. It's going to lead us out of the recession that we're in. I want agriculture pumping, and I want the economy growing at a maximum level, and I do not want to punish farmers. And I can tell you the biggest punishment would be to make a withdrawal, because those multinational companies and countries would actually hurt us bad.
So I guess to his credit, it's sort of to his credit, because it doesn't really explain why we're a part of the Paris Agreement, but that's the take that Seymour did as well. He basically said it would be more expensive for us to get out of it than stay in it because of all the things that have been promised. So for whatever reason, he's on board for staying in it.
Good with the bad. I'm glad that was like a really clear statement of like, well, you know, if we're going to chuck out the Paris Agreement, then our markets are going to chuck out our products because that's how that works. And I like that statement was fucking clear.
Yeah.
I have criticisms about him not actually talking about climate change being a big issue, that it's just down to an economic point of view, but fuck it, I'll take it.
Yeah, and I think I'm actually interested in also what's going on behind the scenes. As like for David Seymour to have one of his MPs basically abusing the government, what does that say again about the relationship between this three-headed taniwha? Like, what does it say? I mean, that should be that information should not go out like that interview without leadership within that party say so. So, and I don't suspect that Seymour's someone who's going to be then racking, hauling his MPs across the coals, but probably should be.
Remember when we said that David Seymour's greatest political trick was the fact that he kept his MPs quiet and out of the spotlight because they were a bunch of moon units?
This is why.
This is a really good example.
Yeah.
Because look, anecdotally, these guys can go, oh, look, I talk to farmers, right? Do you think that ACT guy is talking to farmers that believe in climate change and think that more should be done to assist them with climate mitigation or rebuilding wetlands to make their land more resilient? Do you think he's talking to those farmers? Or do you think he's talking to the farmers that just drive around in a tractor spraying herbicide and listening to reality check radio with the windows open? Do you think he's talking to those ones? This is the thing. Like, I don't believe that any of them get a full range. Like, people will go up and talk to the MPs or the politicians that they like, or that they dislike. They're not getting a whole range of opinions. And I think the other thing is Luxon needs to realize that he doesn't know anything about farming or farmers. He's had no experience with them. He's a marketing guy.
Barely.
Yeah. But I mean, it's this faux like, oh yeah, we're in it for the farmers fucking bullshit that is so, what's the word we used earlier? Inauthentic.
Yeah.
It's not authentic. There's also a comment of why Mark Mitchell was in India.
Yeah.
He is Minister of Sport. So maybe that's why.
Okay.
And then the other question is maybe on his capacity of Minister of Police, they'll be talking about cracking down on Sikh extremists, which I would find less likely.